Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Gordon Koopman. Uh, I would say I am a bodybuilder, cyclist, snowboarder, basically anything that's an individual sport to push myself to be better. I love, um, one of my topics today is ruminating brain. So it's kind of funny because I forgot if I said this already, but been a coach, personal trainer, nutritionist for last 15 years, went to school for that stuff, and just kind of now diving deeper into this realm of specifically coaching men. I know that in my brain, as we all do, right, deal with a lot of challenges. So the whole point of this series is to kind of just document every Friday, essentially like break down on my week, thoughts I had. Recently, I have started waking up at 4 a.m. First client's at 5:30 usually. I go for like an hour walk, and I just find this very helpful to help me think through things, um, really have a self-awareness of what I spend that time thinking about, and sometimes being able to capture that and understand that maybe what I am thinking about isn't worth my time or energy because I either can't control it or it no longer serves me. Now, part two is in these journals, I'm going to try and be as vulnerable as possible. I mean, it's my experience, so nobody can really argue my experience, right? Because it's how I see the world through my eyes. I just find that in being vulnerable, the right people will find this and it will also help you. So, enough with the intro. It's probably way too long for an intro. We'll get better at it, guys. Number one topic on here is ruminating brain. All right. So if you guys haven't heard that term before, that is essentially when your brain ruminates or constantly thinks about the same thing and you can't pull your attention away from that idea. Now, I believe that there are times when this is very positive. If you maybe sat down, made a plan, and you had like a very specific deadline, target, goal, then I wouldn't necessarily say that is ruminating. I would say that is more like dedication, focus. People outside you might call it obsession. Ruminating brain, again, is more like creating narratives to things that you don't actually have data or information on. Essentially creating stories in your head and then validating or unvalidating those stories. In my men's group that I go to, we talked about the idea of the second and third arrow, which is essentially like if something bad happens to us, an arrow is fired at us. Okay. And the idea of the second and the third arrow is that when that bad thing happens, we continue to think about it in our own mind. And the metaphor is now that we are shooting ourselves with a volley of arrows, and our nervous system doesn't know the difference between like the first bad thing and then us thinking about it over and over. What could I have changed? What could I have done differently? Like probably nothing. The past is the past. And it is what it is, and it's an experience, and we need to learn from it. But ultimately, like, that's why I really have been enjoying my morning walks, because something I learned from a client and a friend who was basically a neurosurgeon his whole life, and that was his career. Um, our limbic system in our brain develops um, from when we're a kid until like 25, and anything difficult or traumatic that we experienced within that time is essentially like embedded in our limbic system. And that being said, like your limbic system, it's the one you have for the rest of your life. Like that doesn't change. Um, but what does change is our frontal cortex is what helps us process the emotions created by our limbic system. So spending more time with yourself and figuring out why you have the thoughts you have, why you think the way you think, and being able to capture those thoughts and ideas, and just learning how to maybe reroute them or know that, like, oh, I do have a ruminating brain. So maybe I shouldn't make important decisions without running it past a group of two or three people that I trust very much, or don't make a decision hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Um, and then just continue to practice that. Uh, so that's about all I can really think about right now for ruminating brain. If you have ruminating brain and you watch this, just put in the comments, ruminating brain, hand raise, because I don't think that that is uncommon. Um, so then that I think segments good into focus of attention, right? Uh, for myself, that ruminating brain leads me to wanting to do like a million different things. Even in my time coaching people, uh, people want to achieve like six different goals with fitness. Um, but the truth is, like, what's the one big goal, right? You can achieve a lot more towards that one big goal than if you just kind of focus on six goals. Um, and let me think of like I have a good example. So like right now, um, in like the last month or two, or at least this year, where are we at? 2024. Um, I wanted to do a bodybuilding competition, an endurance event, century ride on my bike, and then I wanted to do a strength goal, which was like a powerlifting competition. And like of those three things, like my biggest love is bodybuilding. Cycling's new. I've only been doing it for a year. And powerlifting, I've never done a powerlifting competition. And I did the first two things by May. So bodybuilding was March, cycling was in May, and it was great. Did pretty good. Was happy with the experiences. And then October, beginning of October, powerlifting meet, or I've already signed up for competing in the Arnold in February. So I started training. My training block was primarily going to be strength and not bodybuilding. And I had a, again, close friend just kind of turn and say, hey man, like I don't think you should do both. I think you should pump the brake and consider focusing on the one thing, which would be the Arnold and potentially getting a pro card or not. Outcome excluded. Um, it's kind of like a big deal thing, so it needs my full attention. Um, and after about a week, just deciding and fully committing, like, yeah, the bodybuilding thing's going to get all my attention. So that's what I've been doing. And it has allowed me to progress a lot further on the bodybuilding end of my fitness versus the strength. And I kind of have to let go of that ego of like wanting to be strong when I know scientifically, like with bodybuilding, creating more cross sectional area in your muscle gives you more potential for strength. So, like, in short, I would just say, like, it, it, I've even noticed this in, yeah, like training other clients, especially guys, they want to do like 6, 7, 8 different things. But if you write a list of like all the things you want to achieve, let's just say, because I'm a coach with your health and fitness, um, if you put all 5 of those things on a piece of paper, gun to your head, you have to pick one. What is the one thing that you would look at and try and focus on? And really, really, really put all your time and energy into that one thing. Because realistically, like you're going to get closer to that one thing. And whatever those other 4 things are, like you're probably going to be better off at that. Like there's still going to be probably, especially if it's within the same realm of health and fitness, in achieving the one thing, you are likely going to either get closer to these things, just focusing on the one thing, or even these things will be easier once you achieve this one thing. Um, so that has been like a big takeaway um, in the last couple weeks as I like prep for this next competition and walking and just having some new insights. Um, so that being said, now I'm going to talk about uh, activation energy. This is a term used in like the psychology of motivation. Activation energy, as you can see, is almost like potential and kinetic energy. Like we're all full of potential energy, but in order to like set off that kinetic energy, you need a little like tap, like something has to push you over the edge. Now, that can be a number of things. That could be the right support, so that you feel like you're supported in the task you're doing. That can be enough knowledge to think that it's actually possible. Um, it could be correct environment, um, or you experience something negative enough that it drives you to change. So that is definitely a big thing I've noticed too with like let's just use weight loss as an example. Um, you have somebody that wants to lose 10, 20, 40, 50 pounds, right? Now that isn't typically something that happens right away, right? Um, because your activation energy is low because it's a problem that slowly grows. Like a good metaphor for this that I would say is like, let's say on the wall behind me there was like a patch of mold growing, and it was like a little speck, like just a tiny little dot on the wall. I would look at it, and in my brain, whatever. Like I wouldn't even register it, right? It's so tiny, it seems insignificant and not worth my time to put any energy into fix, move, replace the drywall because it's just seems insignificant. Okay. So let's relate this to maybe you gained 5, 10 pounds because started a new career, got married, had a kid, um, something stressful happened in your life. And we're spending so much time maybe managing that situation that there isn't enough activation energy. Fast forward, still not enough activation energy. Oh, but I gained another 10 pounds. Whatever. No big deal. I got all these other things to manage. So we'll just let that go by the wayside. Another 3 months goes by. Another 10 pounds. And at the end of the year now, let's say you're up 40, 50 pounds. And now you do kind of every day at the end of the day feel like, well, shit, I'm not happy about this. In my life experience, I will say, like, my addiction to video games, I'd work, and to decompress, aka not feel anything, I would sit and play video games for like 3 hours at the end of the day. And I knew that doing that wasn't fixing anything. And at the end of most days, I would be like, that's gross. Like, not happy at this person. But then the repercussions of doing that finally caught up to me and put me in a position that I necessarily didn't want to be in, which created this activation energy to start doing stuff outside of my comfort zone. And I would say in the last 8 months, actually, I haven't even played video games. Like most people, once they have that activation energy, it's very simple for change to happen. It's just, unfortunately, if there isn't that activation energy, people will just continue to like let the problem linger and grow and grow and grow and grow. And then they get to a point where they just seem completely overwhelmed. It can never be fixed. But shifting that mindset to like, no matter how bad that problem is, there's always something that we can do to start working towards fixing said problem. This would be a great way to end it. I'll try and keep this video 20 minutes. The ugly truth about growth and accountability. So most of us, I think, myself at least, I always want to be better, grow, improve. Trying to accept that perfection isn't a thing. So just go at it, and whatever comes out, comes out. Obviously, I had a slight plan. I have some stuff written down here, but growth is something that we want now, but it takes time. And really surrounding yourself with people that are going to hold you accountable to that goal is by far, I think, the best lesson I've learned this year. For so long, with being an individual sport person, feeling like I had to do everything myself and couldn't ask for help. This year, I kind of learned in asking for help. That is essentially where you actually build trust with people. It's saying like, hey, this really is the thing I want to do. I'm stuck or I need help. Give me some steps I can follow, or help me, hired a business coach, and it's great. They touch base with me every week. What tasks have you worked on? And it really makes you reflect on what has and hasn't been done. So you can't necessarily bullshit yourself where that small problem then becomes a big problem. Because most of the thoughts that we have about things not being within our reach is sort of just that. It's an SLB. Term stands for self-limiting belief. We think we have a glass ceiling, but the truth is, like, that glass ceiling is built by us. So it can also be broken down by us. So 2024, my name is Gordon Koopman. Those have been some of the thoughts I've been having recently, just around mindset, growth, coaching, and helping other dudes. In the comments, like, if you stayed to the end of this video, really do appreciate it. Right now, this is sort of just a personal diary journal. I'm trying to get over my fear of speaking my authentic thoughts and being on camera, because there's a younger version of me who was always trying to fit in, but almost as a survival mechanism, and just being comfortable enough with who I am, with no ill intentions to hurt anybody, but just positive intentions to share my experience, and hopefully in sharing my experience, it helps other people progress and grow. So all love, guys, from the bottom of my heart. If you watch this whole video, it'd be super dope if you subscribe, and it'd be even cooler if we can start building a community. And just any comments, if you relate to any of these thoughts or ideas, if you want to add on to any of these thoughts or ideas, I would love to just have like a brain jam in the comments. So stay strong, guys. Gordon Koopman, Instagram, Gordon Koopman Coaching. And not a big sales guy, but I do love helping people live longer, healthier lives. So, or even just performing better, strength or bodybuilding or just general fitness. So, like, if any of those things interest you, go ahead. I'm pretty confident I have, what the fuck is it called? My, call to action, interest form, essentially linked here. So if you're interested in trading or coaching, you can go ahead and click on that, and it'll send me an email, and I'll get back to you. So take care, brothers.